Sleep, how to get more of it and better quality sleep. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let me tell you how. In this video, we are going to talk about three things. Number one, how stress, anxiety, and your electronics are impacting your brain functioning, making sleep either elude you or making it more difficult to fall asleep and then stay asleep. Then, number two, we are going to talk about the sleep cycle. What should happen in the sleep cycle that likely is not, and how it's being disrupted if you are stressed out, if you have too much anxiety in your life, and especially if you are dependent upon your electronics to help self-soothe you. Because whether you know it or not, it's disrupting your sleep pattern even more. Number three, your brain tip for the day on how you can bring that energy down in your brain so that you can get a better night's sleep. Okay, without further ado, let's jump in and talk about number one, how is the sleep cycle disrupted by stress and anxiety, and then how does electronic use contribute to that? Okay, so first you need to understand how your brain is supposed to use electrical energy across the day and at night during the sleep cycle. So I guess it's going to number two, but then I'm going to describe number one also. So the circadian rhythms of your brain are supposed to operate basically on a 24-hour cycle. And what's supposed to happen across that turn of the clock is that your brain is supposed to be able to shift out of extra slow speed that it's using at night to stay asleep, and then slip into slow speed called theta for when you are waking up and feeling groggy. Now, when you start to ease into your day and have coffee and you're sitting at your kitchen table, now your brain shifts from theta, slow speed, to alpha, medium speed, the speed of calm. Hopefully your brain can get there because many people's brains cannot. And what I mean by that is many people wake up in their bed, check their phone, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, and hit the ground running from sleep to go, go, go. Jumping right in the shower and hitting the ground running after, of course, they've checked their emails and Instagram and whatever else on their phones, which is very terrible for your brain. Instead, you want to ease your brain out of theta, ease it into alpha, medium speed, while you relax and have a cup of tea or coffee and read something inspiring in the morning. Now, as your brain wakes up and it goes from dark to light out, hopefully you're up early enough to experience that, your brain is naturally being told to wake up and to produce less of the neurochemicals for sleep, including melatonin, and to produce a little bit more, not a lot, but a little bit more cortisol, the stress hormone that kicks your brain into, okay, let's go and accomplish this day mode. The perfect amount of cortisol that tells your brain to become awake and alert and move from alpha medium calm speed to low beta calm and focused speed. And in the ideal world, unless there's a major trigger or stressor that's occurring in the here and the now, in the moment, in the ideal world, your brain is able to stay in low beta across your day with moments of going back into alpha for recovery. It's literally called alpha recovery. So in the ideal world, in the circadian rhythms, this is what it would look like. Once you've eased into your day and you've had coffee, now it's time for breakfast and you're ready to get out there and accomplish your goals for the day. Hopefully you've identified them in your morning routine. Then when you get ready and you go, your brain's in low beta. It can get into the zone. It is in flow. You're on purpose in your work. You're thinking seamlessly and smoothly, and the thoughts are coming, but you don't feel stressed out. But if you use low beta for too long, it will start to kick it into high beta, which is hyperarousal, which is the use of that extra fast brain speed that not only creates the feelings of stress and anxiety, but perpetuates them. Because once you get into high beta, it is a self-feeding cycle that will make your brain go faster and faster and faster. So one part of your brain tip is you have to take a break every hour and 15 minutes and let that low beta come down a little bit towards alpha so that you can get some alpha recovery. How do you do that? You take a coffee break. You go for a walk in nature. You just hang out by the water cooler and chat. Not about anything too intense. Just a lovely little chat with connection to another human being. You probably hear me talk that I work from home. I've worked from this office is on the top of my home. I've worked here for years. So the way that I let my brain come down after I make a bunch of videos is I go chop some veggies and I hang out with my kids since they are literally always home because of COVID-19. And we hang out for a little while about doing nothing, talking about nothing. I put some music on, I let my brain come down for 15, 20 minutes, and then I get back to work so that now that hyperarousal isn't going like this across the day. It was going like this, and then I took a break and it came down. And then it keeps going up, but I'm going to take another break. So it ends up with a trajectory like this across my day instead of a trajectory like this. This trajectory will keep you up at night. This trajectory will let you sleep into slumber and get a beautiful night's sleep. So the key to success is keeping the trajectory low across your day through breaks, balancing the circadian rhythms of the day. Okay, so now you've been in the zone and it's time for dinner, and you hang out with some friends and you let that energy come down again. And now you have your evening. Hopefully your evening routine includes something that you like to do. Maybe you're going to play pickleball, because I've never played, but I know that it's all the rage these days. Perhaps you're going to go for a walk. Perhaps you're going to hang out on your front porch with friends. Then it's time to let your brain start coming down. Turn your lights low, because your brain now will get the message. Time for less cortisol, time for more melatonin, because the lights are going down. Circadian rhythms. It must be time for my brain to produce more slow speed. Excuse me, still recovering. And not to produce as much of that high fast speed that I needed for thinking and calm focus. Now I want to shift into alpha for calm when I'm hanging out. And then when it's time to get into bed, I want my brain to go even slower into theta for grogginess. This is how you start feeling sleepy. And if your brain is healthy, it should take 15 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. If you get in bed and you pass out immediately, your brain's likely in hyperarousal and it's completely exhausted. It goes from high beta very quickly to delta, just pass out mode. That means you're likely in adrenal fatigue and your brain needs a break from all that hyperarousal that I just talked about. But if you get in bed and you read a book and you read a chapter and you can feel yourself getting groggy, you put your book down, you turn the lights off. What happens during the sleep cycle is you start up here. So if you were in hyperarousal and you did a lovely evening routine, you brought your brain down to here, but it's still not asleep. So it's getting slower, it's using more theta. Now what you can do is, as you're shifting into sleep, as long as you weren't in this hyper-aroused state, your brain will go slower and slower and slower in the sleep cycle. Then it will start to speed up, and that happens 4 times throughout the night. It will speed up again, and REM is actually up at these peaks of your brain speeding up throughout the night, but then it'll go down again. And then actually the cycle gets a little shorter. You can see a picture of it on my Instagram feed. It gets a little shorter as the 4 cycles occur throughout the night. But when your brain is increasing in speed, as it's increasing in speed, what happens is that you might catch a thought. And if you catch that thought, your brain will wake up. And if you caught that thought and now you're chewing on it, you will stay awake. So if you have difficulty falling asleep, it's because your brain has not come down out of this hyper-aroused state. If you fall asleep quickly, but then you wake up, in the night, especially if you wake up, usually it's at like 3 a.m., that it's about the second time throughout the cycle, the brain speeds up and now it catches a thought, which takes it back into that hyper aroused mode, and it starts thinking about the thought that it caught, and it becomes very difficult to fall back asleep. So what is number 3, your brain tip that's going to help you, first of all, be able to fall asleep when you wake up, but secondly, to be able to rewire your brain so it can get good sleep overall for the rest of your life. Okay, so when you wake up, the key to success is to not grab a thought. So if you've grabbed a thought, you got to throw that thought away and shift your brain back into that slower speed. The way that you can do that is by focusing on your breath. You just say to yourself, in, out. Because if you are saying in, out, you literally can't think about anything else because you're thinking in and out. This is the essence of counting sheep. If you want, you can count sheep. You see one sheep go over, one, like on Sesame Street, right? You see another sheep go over, 2. That is a method that you can use because if you're thinking about the sheep, you can't think about your day tomorrow. You can't worry about something that happened in the past or have regret over it. You can't think about the things you need to do tomorrow and start ramping your brain up. You either focus on your breath or you count sheep, and your brain can come back down, make more slow speed, so you can fall back asleep. But the long-term success plan is to take the breaks in the day and bring your brain down so it doesn't hit this hyper-aroused state that needs to be knocked out into a hypo-aroused state to be able to make you fall asleep. Now, let's talk about what your electronics are doing to mess with your sleep cycle. First of all, we know electronics really jack your brain up. They make it so that your brain makes more of that faster speed. Especially if you're trolling Instagram, your brain's starting to go really fast as you process all of the pictures that you see and you process many, many different people's action or their feeds. So if you're doing that, you're ramping your brain up at night. We also know that electronic use in terms of social media increases anxiety. That's the whole thing on FOMO, fear of missing out. When you're looking at other people's feeds that we know are, right, the artificial best version of their lives, that creates anxiety in people's lives through comparison. So we know that social media at night is definitely not a good thing for your brain. Even in the day, that can be rough for your brain. So if you enjoy doing that, try to fill your feeds with positivity and only spend a little bit of time on social media, using it as a brain boosting activity of bringing your brain down for alpha recovery in the day. But if you stay on it too long, you're going to increase that hyperarousal, that high beta, and it's going to make it more difficult for you to be able to fall asleep at night. Now, if you're really dependent upon your electronics to soothe your brain and your nervous system throughout the day, if you're checking your emails, if you are looking at any websites that are not appropriate, giving your brain some dopamine dumps, if you are constantly checking social media, if you're playing too many video games, what you're doing is you're giving your brain a release for stimulation and for calming. What that means is your brain will become dependent upon that. It won't be able to calm itself down like it would through a walk. If you go for that walk, even a 3-minute walk can bring your brain down and reset it. A 13-minute walk brings your brain down to another level, and a 23-minute walk, not thinking and not on electronics, can reset your brain to this even higher level. That's the way that you soothe your brain in a healthy way throughout the day so that it can get a great night's sleep. So, in the moment, count some sheep and reset that circadian rhythms throughout the day by bringing your brain down. Okay, if you want some help on getting a better night's sleep or decreasing anxiety and stress and leaving your electronic use behind to the extent that you have it going, please check out my programs at drtrishleigh.com. I have a variety of programs of different shapes and sizes to be able to support you. And remember, control your brain or it'll control you.